This is R2G Rally Radio. For the latest in on-event rally news.
Good evening and welcome to your 7pm report to wrap up Leg 5 of the 2024 edition of the Silver Fern Rally. And yet again, it's that man from the UK, James Ford, with Neil Shanks alongside in the Ford Escort RS, who have done the business today. A steady day today. They've mixed up stage wins. They've won three stages and paced themselves, I guess, through the rest to record the third fastest set of times during the day today. Nathan Quinn appears to have gone fastest ahead of Robbie Stokes by 10.5 seconds over an hour 9 of total stage distance. Unfortunately, the Danzies Pass stage had to be cancelled midway through the day. So the cars are currently working their way down from their final stage of the day, Stoneburn, stage 42, which is finished just near Palmerston. So they're travelling down State Highway 1 at the moment towards Dunedin, and in particular the Forsyth Bar Stadium, where they'll do their end-of-day service there. And James Ford and Neil Shanks and the Ford Escort have certainly done very well. And you wouldn't read about it after today's competition. They have, in fact, they started the day with a 7-minute 9.1 second lead over Robbie Stokes. And that lead at the end of today, after something like 100-odd Ks of special stages, is 7 minutes 5.9. So reduced by just 3.2 seconds, would you believe, or changed by just 3.2 seconds. So good day all round for the front two. Also for third-placed man, Robert Goff, who continues to do very well. I think he actually won a stage earlier on today. I'll just quickly see where he is. Yeah, he won stage 39 today. And he is holding a very good third place and holding off Roger Chilman, car number 9, also in his Ford Escort in fourth place. So Goff is 2 minutes 1.9 behind Robbie Stokes and 19.3 in front of Roger Chilman. Chris Rosenberger in the Porsche is fifth, and again, looking down the list, only one or two stage placings, overall placings changed as a result of that final special stage today. So very much status quo with some reasonably substantial gaps between some of the cars. So Chris Rosenberger in the Porsche at a minute 56 down on Roger Chilman is fifth. Shane Merland holding sixth place, 38 seconds further back. Charlie Evans seventh in the Mazda RX-7, 4 minutes and 5 seconds behind Shane Merland. Then Bonami Grimes is eighth in his Ford Escort at 1 minute 30 behind Charlie Evans. Back another 3 minutes 22 to Alan Dippy in his Porsche 911. Philip Kadori, who's had a couple of incidents during the course of a puncture in one stage earlier on today, and was one of the 6 cars that triggered a very brief hazard 4.5k into the final stage. So not quite sure how tricky that particular corner was, but half a dozen crews got caught out by that, but not as sinister as, or not as badly as all those cars did in stage 21 when Nathan Quinn backed his car into the strainer post back north of Timaru a couple of days back. So 10th, Philip Kadori, rounding out our top 10 in the Lancia Stratos. He's just 8.7 seconds behind Alan Dippy, and then it's 1 minute 26 back to the other Tuttle Porsche of Evgeny Karev. And then we go to Jeff Judd in 12th place, but he's still 4 minutes, 3 seconds behind the Porsche. 3:23 now back to Daniel Alonso, our Spanish driver in the Ford Escort. Then we go through Grant Shand in 14th place, 22 seconds further back. Then Andrew Siddle at 59, or 1 minute basically back. Brandon James is 16th at 9 minutes further back. Richard Spink at 12 seconds behind James. And then Ian Dobson at another 4 minutes 40 behind. And 19th is Ken McDonald in his Escort at 3 minutes 21 back. And Brian Green continues to hold up 20th place in his Magnum Escort at 2 minutes 20 behind Ken McDonald. Scott O'Donnell has climbed a place, got in front of David Young in that last stage, or latest stage, to be 21st at the overnight halt. And his Mazda RX-3, he's 44 seconds ahead of David Young now. Then comes Steve Cox in the Starlet, then Tony Jardine in his Corolla. And then our restarting competitors, Ali Mackay, is just got ahead of Chris Ford, the Mark 1 Escort getting ahead of the Mark 2 Escort to be 25th and 26th respectively. Then we go to Julian Burley, who's had a couple of stops during the course of the day today in the Talbot Lotus Sunbeam, now 27th. Nathan Quinn, despite being the fastest driver of the day in the historic section, is in 28th place now. Andy Martin comes next. Then the final classified runners are Keith Stewart, who had another problem during the day today that stopped him at one point in I think the stage 39 9. Bruce Farley in the Datsun as ahead of Ben Howlett in the Chrysler Avenger. Then comes Joshua Hilton in the Celica, and then Merv Hatcher in the Mitsubishi Starion, and William Midgley in the Corolla. Remembering, of course, that those are permanently retired now. Today, there were none today as such, with Dean Buist going out overnight with engine issues on the Escort. Marion Evans, of course, off the road in stage 21. Marcus van Klink also retiring at the end of the day yesterday in the RX-7 from when he was leading. Darren Snooks, car 17, way back on Saturday in stage 6 with a mechanical problem. And Peter Sharmack off the road in stage 16 way over on the west coast on Sunday. So as far as the stage wins go, again, not too much to change there. Safe to say that James Ford is just showing his absolute domination of this year's event with 23 stage wins. Next fast best has been Marcus van Klink with 9. Robbie Stokes has 7. Nathan Quinn now has 5, and Robert Goff has 1. Dean Buist also secured 9 when he was up and running, because he was the fastest driver yesterday when he rejoined after suffering those problems in Arthur's Pass, touring across to start Monday's competition. So on to the challenge now, and that's still a Chris Ramsey, Amy Hudson benefit in the Toyota Corolla. They're still over 6 minutes ahead of Dave Strong. Dave's been up and down the stage times today. And in fact, for the day, Rambo has headed off Dave Strong by 15 seconds, with Phil Thomas another 54 seconds further back, and Richard Galley, I think, securing his first stage win in the last special stage just held in the challenge section. He was 32 seconds further back today. And so the overall classification, those just showing how time-consuming those punches have been for the back-to-back punches on Saturday for Dave and Strong and Rob Scott. They're still 6 minutes 37 behind Chris Ramsey. Then it's another 3 minutes 13 back to Phil Thomas. Fourth now is Richard Galley, who's fallen behind Phil Thomas this afternoon. Austin Jones has got up into 5th place now, ahead of Carl Celeste, who was one of those to have that brief hazard in the last special stage. So he's Austin Jones and Kingsley Jones in the front-wheel drive Subaru are now 27 seconds ahead of Carl Celeste in 5th place overall. Then we go back to Chris Padden, followed by Michael Ward in 8th place, then Andrew Lowe in 9th, Brian Van Eck in 10th, and Daniel Alexander, who unfortunately went off the road in the first stage of the day today. A tightening corner caught him out, and he got stuck off the road, and they're busy working away, repairing and I believe replacing things like the subframe on the Toyota Starlet, but they still have very good high hopes of rejoining tomorrow. But that is all the penalty time they've incurred for missing a whole day has dropped them down to 11th place. Of course, today we lost Ed Mulligan towards the end of the first special stage when he had a fairly substantial off in the BMW, and has had to retire due to the extent of the accident, that incident damage. And the other competitor in the challenge, of course, is Ross Yendel, who retired at the end of the first day with transmission problems. So again, looking at the stage times wins, with Dave Strong as the dominant character there. He's won 21 of the stages that have been held so far. Rambo's won 15, and Richard Galley has won 1. So those are the stage victors so far in the challenge. Just quickly, also moving on to the four-wheel drive classic side, but of course that continues to be Ben Huband in the Magnum H6 Impreza, totally dominant now, over half an hour, 32, nearly 33 minutes ahead of Tom Milliken, who's still doing a great job pedaling along and no doubt enjoying himself in his H6 Impreza. And Huband, in fact, is in something like round about 5th place overall when you combine all the fields. So he's doing a great job, effectively mixing times with the likes of the Porsche of Chris Rosenberger and Shane Merland when you do look at the combining the overall results of all the cars in the Silver Fern Rally. So also, of course, we've got the time trial. That's still continuing to be a fairly close event between 63, Dallas Yates and Ali Singer in the Toyota MR2, and Timothy James and John Mulrunnan in the Porsche Cayenne car 61. They're separated by just now, I think the margin we mentioned when we last mentioned them was about 71 points. Well, now it's out to about 154. And unfortunately, Datsun 1200 of Dave and Tim Bryan has been letting them down a bit. They've succumbed on several stages to get the 300-point stage maximums that go with the time trial, and they are now on 3,259 points. So as long as they can finish, they can get a podium, but unfortunately their chances of winning very much depends on the front two being forced to retire. So tomorrow we're doing a loop and with a second night in Dunedin. And some of the names of the stages you'll pick up on, I'm sure, and recognise from Norman and Roger Oakley's fabulous Otago Rally, the round of one of the leading rounds, of course, in the New Zealand Rally Championship and Pacific Cup. And names like Circle Hill is the first stage tomorrow morning from 9 o'clock after the cars leave Forsyth Bar at 8 o'clock. Circle Hill for 12k, then it's 24k of Burma Road, then another 24k of Falla Burn. Those are running at 9 o'clock, 9:40 and 10:35 respectively, before the Balclutha Showgrounds will host a 60-minute lunchtime service between 11:15 and 12:15. And then we push on a little bit further south to what I would recall as a Catlin stage, Cannibal Bay stage, but this time not the big long one that has been in Craig Jessop's versions of the Catlins and Rally. Just 13k is being used this time from 12:50. Then we start to get into a big one, the Hunt Road stage at 43k at 20 to 2, and then the Dixon stage, which I believe has sections of the famous Curry Bush in it at almost 20k. That runs at 20 to 4, and then Silverstream, an 8k stage, runs at 25 to 5. With the cars due to return to Forsyth Bar for their end-of-day 60-minute service between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock tomorrow. So at this stage, if the addition on the itinerary is right, there's 144k of special stages tomorrow. So a pretty good return for the competitors with 240 of touring. So a relatively compact day by the scale of some of the other days. And I'm sure they're all still looking forward to getting into what is, of course, the penultimate day of this year's Silver Fern Rally. So until we catch up with you, probably again as close as we can to 2 o'clock tomorrow, this is Chris Grant at the Chris Sport Results Desk.